The Angry Chicken is a production of Amove TV. Bookmark amove.tv for more gaming and esports shows. The Angry Chicken is directly supported by listeners like you via patreon.com/TAC.
Everyone, get in here!
Ready for action! I've got the beast in my sight. A podcast about Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. This is The Angry Chicken.
Greetings and welcome back, everyone. This is The Angry Chicken, the podcast all about Hearthstone. I'm Garrett Weinzerl. I'm joined as always by Willie Dills Gregory, who, if you're watching on video, is just now getting back with his coffee. There he is. I promised he was here. And special guest joining us for the first time is Ant. By the power of Twitter, you made it, dude.
I'm glad to be here. I was wondering what you were going to ask me.
I'm glad, man. I'm glad. I was watching your interviews on HCT, and I was just reminded that I find you to be just so damn entertaining and just a constant source of like happiness. Like, I don't know how often you listen to the show, but I tilt easy, so I always kind of look to you as this guiding beacon of how I should be behaving. When the cards are stacked against me. But I appreciate you coming on, dude.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for hitting me up. I'm ready to talk some stone.
Let's talk some stone, man. Are you still in Oakland, or you were just there, right?
Yeah, I just got home yesterday.
How did that tournament go?
For me, I started off really well. I went 4-0, and then I ended 4-4. So,
wow. Yeah,
not the greatest, but I mean, I could have done something better. I probably could have like brought better decks or something like that. But I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with how my friends did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can't really complain about that.
What decks? What was your lineup?
It was just like an aggro lineup. So odd.
Oh,
rogue.
really? You run an aggro lineup?
Dude, I actually did it once.
It would be hilarious if you were like Shutterwalk Shaman and.
What I wanted to play was like Shutterwalk Shaman, or it's exactly what Tari played to win. Shutterwalk Shaman, like Q Block, Mali Druid, Quest Rogue. But then Tari told me the night before, he's like, just play aggro, and I was like, yeah, you know what, you're right.
Yeah, you know what, yeah, I will.
That sounds like a good
all right.
idea.
So okay, get what 4 aggro? Because I was actually last night on stream. I was like, okay, we got Ant on tomorrow. We'll play some aggro decks, and then I sit down. I'm like, what aggro decks are good right now? So what, like, I'm not gonna play Odd Hunter. Like, what do you play? I mean, I know Odd Paladin,
yeah,
Zoolock, but like, what else is there?
Odd Paladin, Zoo, Odd Rogue, and
yes, Odd Rogue.
What's my last one? Odd Rogue.
I
This
is why you went 4-4.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, you remember the deck anymore.
I was digging around like crazy today.
Oh, Token Druid.
Token Druid. Okay.
Yeah. Token Druid, though, it is an aggro deck, but it's kind of not, right?
Yeah, it kind of feels like a combo deck more to me.
It just has like a couple of turns where you just suddenly create a bunch of tempo. But
yeah, exactly.
Outside of that, you're kind of just Druid.
Yeah.
Druid's weird right now. It's like Druid is like, here's 18 cards. What do you want to do with the other 12? Everything else is just like, yeah, you know what you're putting in Druid. You're putting these
growth, nourish,
ramp
UI.
cards. Yeah, and this removal cards and this one card that costs 10 mana, draws 5 cards, makes a 5/5, and gives you 5.
Yeah, we're just putting the good cards in.
I love that you had trouble recalling your decks. Because I was looking around like crazy today trying to find like deck lists from HCT Oakland, and the coverage for Oakland is real sparse. It's been difficult for me.
The top 8 has all the deck lists up, but
yeah.
The annoying part about that is that I don't care about the top 8 deck lists because I know those deck lists. I want that damn Cube Zoo, and I also want what that one guy was playing who missed lethal horribly, and I want his deck list. But
I think those are all just like Kibler decks. You can probably find that.
Sure, yeah. Just watch Kibler stream.
Yeah. But yeah, I think like you can go through like Smash. It's kind of I feel like it's so hard to find, but like you have to go through like Smash GG and like click at the player you want to look at. So like I wanted to play the Cube Zoo yesterday, so I went through Smash GG, like went to Yoa's Flow because I know Yoa's Flow was the one playing all like the wacky decks, and I just got it from there. But yeah, I'm pretty happy to see him. Like I think it was top 16 or top 32. Like it's crazy. He brought like Egg Hunter and Cube Zoo and these things.
Yeah,
did really well.
Lineup ever, and he was on stream playing them, and everyone was freaking out, and it was awesome. This to me has been, I don't know if you have this feeling too, but this whole since they made the nerfs, because before the nerfs, I did not like this meta at all.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked last week about, or 2 weeks, I guess, because I missed last week's show. 2 weeks ago about how. Did we really want this control meta? Like, are we that excited about it? But after it's kind of settled in a little bit, I feel like, yeah, I do. I did want this. I didn't want Quest Priest to be dominant, which I was worried about.
Yeah.
I didn't want like some of this other stuff. But now we've kind of settled into this thing where, like, I was looking at my stats from the last 10 days or something, and other than like Warlock being a little bit in front, there's just a lot of everything right now. And
yeah.
There's new decks coming out all the time, and
Yeah.
I don't know what it's gonna be when I queue into somebody.
Well, and just in the 2 weeks since you've been gone, Dills, and I mean you only missed one episode, but in the 14 days between the last episode you're on,
But I
now,
really missed you guys.
Oh, we missed you too, man. It's kind of evened out. It's not as control heavy, and I mean you go over on HS Replay and like the top 3 decks like overall they're pretty quick decks. I mean it's still your Odd Paladin, your Even Shaman, your Zoo Warlock. Like I mean the 3 of them are so close to each other in statistics and in popularity of how many people are playing these decks. Like it's not all control. It is we've kind of found an equilibrium again.
Yeah, it feels like it. Like even just looking at those and saying they're the top 3, I feel like they're not even the top by a lot. Where like you still have like all the good decks, like I don't know, like even Warlock. I see Q Block. Good friend of mine, teammate of Tari, won Oakland, going to Worlds, killing all day. He's got rank 1 of Quest Rogue, which like you'd never think would happen. Everyone thought that deck was dead. So I mean, there's just a lot out there to play.
Yeah, I think
it's pretty nice that like the meta's slow enough where you can do like these crazy like cool combos with things like Egg Hunter, and I don't know, I'm kind of happy to see it.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, Dills, again, calling back to a couple of weeks ago, we were sitting here being like, man, it's hard to climb. Like, there's not that deck.
Yeah.
There's not that deck that just gets you consistent wins. It
still is.
Every deck that's popular right now, and there's so many to choose from, has like it's good matchups, it's fair matchups, and it's crossing your fingers you never see it matchups. Yeah. It seems like, but yeah, as hard as it is to climb, like I don't know, like now that I know, like Boomsday is just around the corner. Dear God, I haven't even got a chance to talk to Dills about Boomsday yet because you weren't here last week.
No, yeah,
like
they picked the worst time for me to drop that news. Literally the day that I wasn't going to be on the show.
I saw you on Twitter. You were so
God,
mad.
Yeah, I was salty.
But like I think I'm walking out of Witchwood thinking like this is one of the coolest metas in the history of Hearthstone, at least from ladder.
Yeah. No, and also from a tournament perspective, like I'm watching these tournaments and I'm like, and I'm surprised. I Quest Rogue just won a friggin' tournament. What? Like they've nerfed it twice. How? But and at this point, I'm not mad at Quest Rogue for winning a tournament. I'm like, that's cool. It actually now is pretty sweet because I think it is a fair deck now. And before it was so friggin' polarizing. I do get that it's a good call in a tournament where you expect to see a lot of control. Because 4/4s are still a pain in the ass to deal with.
Yeah.
Just talk to any Miracle Rogue player. They're like, yeah, man, 4/4s, dude. That's where it's at.
It says so much too about how strong it was before both nerfs.
Sure.
Like how did it ever make it out into the game in its original form?
Yeah. By the way, how many players were at that HCT Oakland? Let me look
That
it
should
up
be
here.
like, I think it was like 180 around there.
Yeah, I think it was
It
just
158. So that's
Oh,
wow.
58,
That's a
okay.
big tournament, man.
yeah, it was under
Yeah.
it was under 200. We weren't talking Dreamhack numbers, but it was close.
Yeah. And this was just an open tournament, or are all these score stops just open, or do you have to be qualified?
No, they're open, so like
Okay.
anyone could come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Come on,
fine.
play.
And the other thing I was going to ask, so I'm from San Francisco, and I was actually like kind of bummed that this is happening in my old backyard, and I couldn't be there. What was the esports arena thing like It looked pretty.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I like there wasn't usually like, in esports arena there's like a bunch of like setups, like a bunch of computers, but like since it was a big like bring your own computer kind of thing, like I had a bunch of tables in it, but it was still like this really nice space, like a big open. I don't know, it was pretty comfortable, pretty nice.
I had no idea they even had one there. When I saw it, I was like, "What? Oakland had one of these? How did I not know about this?"
I think it's really, really new. Like maybe like a month or two at most.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I don't know. It's cool being there. It's a cool experience. Esports arena is always like a good venue to have events at and go to.
Oh, it sounds like a rad setup. Sounds like a Hearthstone only DreamHack setup.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Also, Dills, I love that you're like, oh man, they're doing it where I used to live. Like, dude, you moved to Austin. Like, they have DreamHack there. You're fine.
Yeah. No, I mean that was cool too.
That was cool. Just one of the most famous LAN
Actually,
events.
I never even crossed paths with Ant at DreamHack this year. How did you end up doing at that tournament? I know you've done well at DreamHacks in the past.
Yeah, I think I went 6-3 in that one. Okay. But like tiebreakers weren't good enough to make top 32.
Yeah. 7-2 is kind of that's the like sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
That's where you're like guaranteed like the top spots, but like 6-3 is like where you have to see tiebreakers.
You gotta hope and pray. Sure.
Yeah.
We're just waiting around, waiting for other results to come in.
Exactly.
It's always annoying. Yeah, I mean, Dills, you and I were both out at the first Dreamhack Austin. You made top 8 for that, Ant.
Oh, dude. It was like the first like live event I ever went to, I think. Oh no.
Really?
I mean, there was like the there was like the thing in 2014,
You were out in New York.
Championship.
Wasn't that your first big event?
Yeah, that was my first big event, but like this was like a big open like major event that I went to, like the first one. It was a pretty cool experience, especially getting to top 8 in the first one that I ever got to play in. Nice. I don't know, it was pretty nuts.
Was that kind of the tipping point of like, okay, I can be a pro Hearthstone player? 2016.
I think it gave me more, like, drive, I guess, to pursue it. I did it. I kind of had that feeling back in 2014 when I did the Americas Championship. But I mean, like between there and like 2016 with DreamHack Austin, you kind of had like a lot of downtime and maybe like not doing well in tournaments or not being able to go out to them. And I finally get one in NA that I get to go to and do well in it. It's like really, it really helps like reinforce the idea of like maybe this is something that I can do. And yeah, I'm glad I got to take part in that.
That's the year Chalky one, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. Oh, I see it here. Yeah, you lost to J Billy B.
That's funny. He's like one of my good friends now too. He works like a production on all the HCT stuff, so I can see him at all the events. I don't know. Just one of like
J Billy B. Love that guy.
He's one of the nicest people I've ever met. People always say like I'm the nicest person, like in Hearthstone, but he actually might be.
Well, if you're advocating for him being the nicest person, you might now be pulling ahead in the nicest person.
Yeah, this is just a competition. This is part of it, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all part of the plan.
And on the week we're missing Jocelyn's innate like Canadian politeness.
Yeah, her Canadian niceness. Yeah, we need to fill in that. Yeah. Okay, so how did you decide that Hearthstone was going to be a pursuit for you? Like, what's your card game background before that?
I played Magic before that, but it wasn't like professional or anything. Just because like I couldn't get to events, like I didn't have a car, and they're always like really far. Since I live in Fresno, like the closest one was like Sacramento, which is like an hour and a half drive, I think, something like that. And it was kind of hard for me to get to with no car. So yeah, I just didn't do that. I just played a lot locally. Just had fun with it.
It's hard to stream too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That client is garbage.
Yeah, and then like I want to play online, but I enjoyed playing like in person more. So it's kind of hard to like try to buy a collection on both or like keep up a collection on both. So yeah, it just wasn't something that was really reasonable. And then Hearthstone came along. It was a lot easier, or not a lot easier, but like a lot easier to get into. Like all your collections online. It's kind of like there's no like secondary market or anything like that where you have to pay a bunch. Like if one card's really good, you kind of just like buy your packs and have your cards, craft your craft your good cards, all that kind of stuff. So I mean, that was also really convenient. But yeah, I don't know. I just made the switch there, and then I guess I just never looked back.
Well, it's something we don't always talk about, especially this many years into the game. But you got to remember that you're right. Like when Hearthstone first came out, we were all looking at it, especially if you played MTG, online, that it was just like, oh my god, look at this! It's so shiny. Everything works. It's got a great interface, and it's affordable. And I know we're all staring down the barrel of 2 bundles we can just throw money at right now, and we're thinking, oh man, this game feels kind of expensive, but it's still so affordable compared to something like Magic the Gathering.
Actually, yeah, I didn't get a chance to talk to you about this on the show yet. This is more affordable for me, this double bundle thing, because I always bought the pre-sale thing or whatever, and then I would buy like 2 bundles of 60 packs at like $80 each or whatever it is. God. Like that's I got every expansion. I'm just like, I need all the cards day one, so here's all my gold, and then pre-order, and then I would buy like a couple more things. This time I'm like, okay, so yeah, I spent $130, but I got 130 packs. I probably don't need to buy another thing after that, because I'll also get like 50 packs in gold. That would be 180 packs on day one. That's usually about what I open. I mean, and I'll probably have everything after that.
As Infrarogue in the chat room is saying, we are the target audience, right?
Sure. But you can not buy the $80 one and just buy the $50 one. It's the same as every other expansion, right? But it's like, I love that they're adding another one where they're like, yeah, do you want 130 packs at $1 a pack? Because you're going to buy those anyway. I'm like, yes, I am. Thank you. And Mecha Jiraxis and a Golden Legendary. And, it's like, yeah, hell yeah, dude.
I didn't even care how many packs were in the bundle. I just wanted Mecha Jiraxis.
It looks so good. It looks like it came straight out of an 80s movie. I love it.
I know, it's so sick. I went to my collection, and I was like, man, I can't get this. How do you get this? And then it was while I was streaming, and then my chat's like, oh, you just have to pay $80. I was like, yeah, sold.
Done.
I don't take my money.
Oh, I get cards too? That's nice.
Yeah.
Give me my Mecha Jiraxis.
Chris just actually put in, so a Magic the Gathering, like a box. And I used to do this too. Like I would buy like a box of 32 packs or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
And you'd open that and you could not make a deck at the end of that. Like not even close, I mean, one time I was super lucky and I opened a Flooded Strand, and then I traded that for a whole bunch of shit, and it was sweet. But most of the time, you open a full box of Magic cards, and at the end, you're like, all right, I'm missing everything. I got a few of these, but you need 4 of all the good,
that's the thing.
Epic. It's just.
I got this Mythic Rare that cost $25. Well, I need 4 and I have 1.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's so crazy. And that's I think a thing that a lot of people forget when they're talking about Hearthstone is comparatively, it is still a very cheap card game. And if you come from a world, and a lot of people, like we've talked about this on the show, but a lot of people come from, this is their first card game. They're used to like, hey, I buy $60, I have the whole game forever. That's not how card games work.
Yeah. If you think of it as a traditional gamer, especially one that doesn't just play Fortnite but actually buys video games for $60, like it's kind of difficult to wrap your brain around the price of Hearthstone. But yeah, if you come in from Magic, you're just like, yeah, this is pretty reasonable. I mean, the one of Legendary limitation is such a big part of that affordability.
Well, I talk about Eternal all the time, and I still play it a little bit. But in that game, you also need 4 every time, and they have essentially legendaries, and they're really hard to come by. It's just you look at a deck list and you're like, okay, I need 4 of those. And with Hearthstone, you look at a deck list and you're like, okay, I need that legendary. Okay, I can get that legendary, right? And then once you have it, you're done. It's just, to me, it's just so much simpler.
Yeah, I want to talk about. I really want to move in Boomsday, but before we do, I'm still curious, just tournament wise, and before we get too far away from it, like, you brought mostly aggro decks to Oakland this weekend. Like, is that still like your jam? Because like I remember a PC gamer interview with you, and I actually went and dug it up because I knew you were coming on, so it's now it's a little more fresh in my mind. Where you talked about how you tend to value decks you're comfortable with over what is quote unquote the best decks. Like, is that still your strategy going into most tournaments?
Yeah, I'd say for the most part. The thing is, like, now I've kind of tried to get myself to be comfortable with the best decks, so it works out a little better. But yeah, that's what I try to do for the most part. I kind of wish I did that a little bit more for this tournament because, like, I know I'm usually comfortable with aggro decks, but I've played a lot of like the other decks like Shudderwock Shaman, Mally Druid, that kind of stuff. So I felt like maybe I should have went with that. And it's like aggro seems good. All these decks are really nuts. They could just win any matchup. Like I should try it out. Like a lot of people were just telling me it was good. A lot of people like told me they were coming in with like Egg Hunter or like Quest Rogue. Well, I mean, all my friends are like the Quest Rogue players, so that's probably why I thought there was gonna be a lot of Quest Rogue. But yeah.
And aggro is good against Quest Rogue.
Yeah, exactly.
You just beat him up.
Yeah. So yeah.
Like,
yeah.
what's the draw to aggro for you though? Because like we've talked about this on the show a lot. That I think early on in Hearthstone, a lot of people thought of aggro as like the mindless deck. Like, oh, you just aggro used to be just kind of inherently the strongest style. I think in the early stages of Hearthstone.
No, I mean we've spent so many hours talking about kind of the trap mindset that is. Like,
sure,
aggro is not.
Like
that easy to
I've
play.
made the argument that aggro is actually a harder style to play than a control matchup, because with control you're like, okay, clear the board. Like I know that's my mindset, right? And with aggro, it's like, when do I trade? When do I go face? Like I know that these minions aren't going to last forever. How much damage do I need to get out of them? Like it's like a tightrope walk, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people like don't give like aggro a lot of that kind of credit. Where like there are the games where you kind of just get run over because you don't have anything. But there most of your games are going to be where like you have to play efficiently, you like use your mana efficiently, get damage out efficiently. I think it was really funny that you kind of bring up like the trade not trade thing as well, because like in the tournament I played against Seo Hyun, another good player. I think he top 8'd, and he played like we're playing a matchup like Q Block versus Odd Paladin, and he played Spirit Singer Umbra on 4, and I just didn't kill it. I just hit him in the face. And after the match, he was just like...
That's an aggro player right there. You're like, Umbra? Whatever.
He was just like, why didn't you kill my Umbra? And then I was like, well, I mean, you're going to 5 mana. Like, what are you going to do? he's like, I think 90%... He's like, 90% of people here probably would have traded there. And I was like, well, I guess I'm the 10%. I don't know.
Sure. That's actually, I mean, I think that's one of the things that I think makes aggro so skill intensive is stuff like that. Like a lot of players will see an Umbra, just be like, gotta kill it. But you're thinking, no, I got to turn. Like I got to turn here to get damage out of these minions. Yeah. And I'm going to take that turn. And I think that's heads up play, but it's something that a lot of aggro players will miss.
Yeah. It's about like setting the pace of the game versus being reactionary, and that's the simplest way to put it. Obviously, there's so much more nuance to whether you're playing aggro or controller mid range, but I know for me anyway, when I first started getting into card games, I was originally just drawn to control because of the reactionary nature. It's almost like when I first started playing MOBAs, I was like, I'm going to play support so that I just follow people around and keep them alive, and I'll learn the game in the background. And again, this is me talking down to support MOBA players either. Like there's more nuance there, but it's just like the longer I played card games, the more and more I started getting into faster, more aggressive decks.
Yeah, I think we even see it in Hearthstone a lot. Like, I think a lot of the best decks are like tempo-ish decks, and like people who have that kind of play style usually I think do well or perform better. Like it's funny where like a lot of people think of like Evenlock as a control deck, but if you really think about it and you play the deck, like how it plays out, it's just a tempo deck. Like you play it 8/8 on 3, and then all like the rest of the game is just trying to keep tempo, trying to keep board. Like there's just like a lot of things like that where like if you just play for tempo, a lot of times you just see yourself just winning a lot more often.
Yeah, no, that deck is basically about putting giant dudes on the board and then smashing you like with them. So I talking about aggro though again too, like I want to get your take on Hearthstone comparative. We talked to Zalay a few weeks ago about Hearthstone and Magic comparatively. In Magic, were you an aggro player as well? Did you tend to gravitate towards that?
I was kind of like I was a little forced into it just because like I shared a collection with some of my friends, and they would like there's one day where I set down like the Jaces and something else. I was like, I want to try this deck, and then like I just never got to play with them again.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, I'm just gonna play this for the rest of whatever. It was back when like Cobblade was a deck, because that's around the time I started playing, or yeah, around the time I was playing was around like the Cobblade era. And I set down the Jaces, like the Stone Forges, that kind of stuff. They picked them up and like never really set them down again. So I think my favorite deck after that was like
Like,
Boros.
well, hey, I got these lightning bolts. What should I do with these?
Yeah, exactly. I got like I had like Step Links. This nice one mana Yeti.
Yeah,
like these
there you go.
Geopedes. Like, okay, all right, I'll play this deck. Seems pretty cool.
I feel so. You know, you talk about Hearthstone as a tempo game. I totally agree. I think it is 100% tempo game because of just how the combat works, right?
Mm-hmm.
You choose where the attacks go as the attacker. Minions, keep damage. The board is constantly in flux. Like in Magic, a lot of times, like I got these 5 guys, they're going face, right? And like you're like attack. And unless you have blockers up or unless you cast the removal spells, like they stay on the board. They tend to be there for a little while.
Yeah.
Hearthstone, it's like, I got these guys on this turn, and 3 turns later, it's a completely different board. And also you don't have to worry about drawing mana, so it's all about the cards you're putting on the board and everything like that. But the board's constantly in flux, and it's just a tempo game. But to me, that does make, I think, aggro even trickier in Hearthstone, because these minions are super temporary, right? Whereas
absolutely.
Yeah, in Magic, like, these guys might be around a while. Or, like, you can block one of them this turn, 4 of them are getting through. Next turn, 3 of them are getting through. Next turn, and then I only need to get 20 damage in, right? So, I mean, can you talk a little bit about the difference between, like, transitioning into Hearthstone as, like, a tempo game?
I just think the funniest thing for me going from Magic to Hearthstone was, like, my realization that you don't have to you don't have to interact with their minions. I was like, oh, these can just go face all the time. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. I just say it, they go face.
Because I remember in Magic, like, there's a lot of that stuff where like, oh, if I attack here, it takes this block, I get this damage through, and like I can piece together the burn. But you just get to Hearthstone, you're like, okay, well I can push these things face, and then trying to figure out like okay, that's not usually like the best thing is just push the thing's face and hope you get there. And it's kind of like hard to at first try to like learn how to play for tempo, because I feel like you might be like new to the game, or I mean I guess you are new to the game and you don't really know like the things that could punish you, or like you don't really know how to play around. Like you kind of just push the things and hit face.
There's actually arguments, like I've heard people say, oh, if they're going to AoE me, I should trade. And sometimes I'm like, no, if they're going to AoE me, I should go face with these, because this is my last chance to get damage out of them, right? And I don't know, it's funny how like my mindset has changed over time, because I did used to think that way, like, oh, I should get these trades in just in case they flame strike me. And now I'm like, no, I should get this 12 damage in case they flame strike me.
Yeah,
exactly.
The longer I play this game, the more I start thinking of like realizing the fact that I have like a 1 card out, and not that there's only 1 card in my deck, but like there are multiple cards in my deck that if I pull that 1 card, I win, and that always like it comes up in those scenarios all the time that you just mentioned, Dills, when you're worried about the AoE, and it's like, well, wait, if I get like 9 more damage in right now, they're dead to any of my other direct damage spells.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's like a huge part of it as well.
So yeah, they
like. Push this damage, like, oh, if I draw like Leroy this or this, like they're dead.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know. It's really cool to think about, like just like thinking about how people think about like outs and that kind of stuff. Like, oh, if I do this, then I can draw like this out and that kind of thing. Or I still have like tempo if I draw this card, like I can get back like this. Yeah, there's just like so much things to think about. It feels like, because you're not really like, you're playing with your deck as well. Well, I feel like when you're playing aggro, because you kind of use your like all your resources getting on the board early. Yeah,
you're not playing with just your hand, right? You're playing with the next 5 cards on the top of your deck as well.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny because one of the most helpless feelings in the world in Hearthstone is something only you get when you play aggro, which is they have 7 cards, I have 0 cards, all my cards are on the board. Like you're like start thinking about like card advantage when you play like these control matchups, and in aggro versus control, you're like, we both have 7 cards, just mine are all on the board, and his are in his hand. And you're like, and I got 1 card coming, and that's all I got.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of why I like playing Warlock though. You get the 2 cards every turn, just keep it flowing.
There you go. Yeah, play aggro with Warlock, then you always have 2 cards.
Well, before we move in and talk about Boomsday, we have a sponsor to thank on today's episode. Harrys.com is back. They are our longest running sponsor on this show. They treat the Angry Chicken real well, and I know what you're thinking. Normally, we have 2 bearded men sitting here talking about razors. We have 3 today, but that's fine. It's not as crazy as you think. Even if you've got a beard, you still got to groom. You know, the beard does not just grow in looking awesome. You have to take care of it. You have to, edge it out a bit. I've got mine grows down to my Adam's apple. I don't want that. I have to keep that neck beard in check. So you should head on over to harrys.com right now. New customers get $5 off a shave set using the code TAC over at harrys.com. That means you can get a trial set that comes with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and a travel cover, all for just $3 plus free shipping. Again, when you use the code TAC at harrys.com. We're big fans here. I'm going to be gone next week. I won't be here on the show. I'm going to be down in Key West with my shirt off constantly.
That's right. Yeah, see, this is summer Dills time. I got to keep them shoulders clean, man.
Exactly.
I've even, you know what I did the other day? I took my Harry's razor and I made my own back shaver. I attached a little thing to it.
Did you really do that?
Yeah, I attached the thing to it. Look, man, I'm in my 30s now. Like, I get hair in all sorts of places. I gotta keep that. It's summer. I'm going swimming at Barton Springs. I don't want a hairy back when I go down there. Right?
and seriously, that's what I like about it. I mean, I've already talked about how they converted me from an electric razor, that I actually enjoy now using the foam, using the razors. But they're also they're good enough for more sensitive parts of my lower neck where weird chest hairs grow too high. So, so you should check them out. Again, use the code TAC over at harrys.com and get $5 off your shave set. Go check them out. We thank them for their support. Now I'm going to finally get Dills' thoughts on Boomsday and yours as well, Ant. Boomsday has already been announced. It was the big news last week. I thought we were only going to have 2 cards to talk about today, and then maybe we would do a little bit of a recap, but they also went and dropped a new Hearthside chat video with designer Stephen Chang, and Stephen Chang showed off 4 new mechs and dropped a little bit more information on that as well. So, I mean, overall, before we start talking card specific, what do you think of Boomsday? Ant, what was your kind of gut reaction when they popped the lid off this last week?
I mean, I was just in love with the video they did. It was so well done. I don't know. I watched it a couple times, honestly, but seeing some of the cards and legendary spells coming and mechs coming back, it seems really cool. I don't know. I can't wait to see the cards and play with them and that kind of stuff. I don't know, man. Just new cards always excite me.
Oh yeah. This seems like a really fun set. And a lot of people were asking about what I thought of the video in the post-Broad era. Did they do all right? And yeah, I thought Kozak was hilarious. Waylon was hilarious. The whole thing was funny. The whole thing was really well done. And I feel like looking at some of these early cards, we're going to get some really interesting new stuff that we haven't seen before. I mean, obviously mechs, that's a thing. We know about mechs, but they're adding in a pretty sweet twist with this magnetic thing. And then you look at some cards like Stargazer Luna and you're like, what? Huh? So I don't know. It's to me, it seems like, the innovation seems to be there. Like I said, with Witchwood, it seemed like they learned a lot about cards that are not healthy for the game of Hearthstone. Witchwood did not introduce, outside of maybe Shutterwalk, but even Shutterwalk I think is fine. They didn't introduce a bunch of unhealthy stuff like they have in the past, like Patches, Keleseth, Undertaker, that you could kind of go back down the line and be like, yeah, remember that? That was stupid. Witchwood doesn't seem to have a lot of that. Shutterwalk when it first came out because of the animation times and all that stuff. But once like everything kind of settled down, it's just okay. Shudderwock's just that's a deck that punishes a certain type of deck style, and totally has weaknesses, and is not something like Patches where it's like it just changes everything, right? Or something like Corridor Creeper, and it's like early when it was a 5/5, like where it's like everything is stupid now because of this one card, which one didn't really have that. And I'm seeing a bunch of cards here where I'm like, I don't think this set's going to have that either. I think we're just going to get a lot of interesting stuff, and it's going to create a bunch of new archetypes, and that's what I want from a set. So I'm very excited about this one.
You're just happy they didn't add another crab that gets buffed when it removes something.
Yeah, no more of that. Yeah, no more Galactic Crawler bull crap.
Maybe some time they could Mech crab maybe. We'll see.
Oh no, don't put that idea in their head, Ant.
Mech crab. Oh god.
Just remove it.
It's
don't
fine.
Get a buff too. You don't
it's
need.
Fine if it eats it. Yeah, just don't also get a buff if it eats it. Like that. Oh, I hate that stupid mechanic.
Killing it wasn't enough. You got to get a buff too.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate swing cards. I don't like those.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the new cards that have been shown since last week's Angry Chicken. Dills, you mentioned Stargazer Luna. Let's talk about what exactly she is. She's a new mage legendary minion. It's going to cost you 3 mana to cast Stargazer Luna. She has 2 attack, 4 health, and she reads, after you play the rightmost card in your hand, draw a card. And you're right. I was sitting there apparently right with you, Dills, going, wait, what?
Yeah.
Really
it's a top decking machine. You play her, and then you play the card you just drew, and then you play the card you just drew, and then you play the card you just drew, and you just keep going. I think it's a really interesting card. I'm really glad when I looked at it, I was like, oh god, I hope this doesn't become like a thing where it's like play the middlemost card in your hand and do the. But the fact that it's the rightmost card is the only way this makes sense. Right?
Yeah, you're this is exactly where my brain was, because like first my gut reaction was, oh, this is so specific and goofy, but then I'm like, wait, no, this is Hearthstone. This is the most controllable location they could have made it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It basically, to me, I mean, you immediately look at it and you think, okay, tempo burn mage, right? Because you can take out an arcane intellect, right? And then instead you got this, right? And then because arcane intellect, you don't want to play that on 3 anyway. It's more of a like later, like you got 7 or 8 mana, you're just trying to find fireballs and frostbolts and stuff to kill them. Stargazer Luna is perfect for that, because not only do you get some more cards and you find burn, but you're also putting a 2/4 into play. So seems like a very, very good card to me.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong, but my first thought was Elemental Mage, because I was like, oh hey, who wants to run 1/2s that put 1/2s in the rightmost slot in your hand that cost 1? And I'm like, oh,
that's actually it. Yeah, that's
wow,
pretty cool. Fireflies. Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
God.
You get to draw 2 cards.
Yeah, I'm not. This is not me like getting up on a mountain.
No, but you don't, because you play Firefly, and then it puts the Flame Elemental, but then you draw a card. So there's another card in the way, right?
Well, not if you just. It's after you play the rightmost cards. So if you have enough mana to play the token, you're good to go.
But you got to play the card you drew first, because you play Stargazer Luna, right? Then you play your Firefly. Then it puts a Flame Elemental in your hand. Then it draws a card. So there's a new card.
Well, no.
All right.
Wait. Well, if in this scenario the Flame Elemental is the rightmost card,
but
No,
it won't.
always.
The card you draw will be, right?
No, wasn't the flame always? Because like the flame goes to the right of your hand, then you play it and draw a card.
That's what I'm.
But Stargazer Luna will then draw a card when you play the first part.
Only if it's the rightmost card. It's not guaranteed to be the rightmost card. The token is.
Yeah. I'm just saying. Yeah. So like, let's say the Flame Elemental is the rightmost card, right? But I see what you're saying. If it's not, then you get a card on the right.
Right. Yes, you have definitely brought up an interesting scenario to consider. But in my assumption, my expectation, or the example I gave, I was just kind of assuming the initial Flame Elemental is not the rightmost card. But you're right. If that turns out to be the case, but you still draw a card either way. So
yeah. Either way, you're going to get a card. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's actually really interesting. And also, there's some cheap elementals out there anyway, whether you have Firefly or not. So
yeah, exactly.
That's interesting.
This is not. But I don't know if Elemental Mage will be good come Boomsday. That remains to be seen. But that's just the first place my brain went.
Yeah, that was good. I didn't think about that, but like with fly and that kind of thing, putting the elemental to the right, it just turns it into like the old like unnerfed novice engineer, right? Where it's 1/2 draw a card. I guess it's better, right? Because it's 1 mana. Yeah.
For 1 extra mana, you get an extra 1/2 in stats, and you can draw multiple cards. So yeah.
Yeah. I just like this something you could just play on 3, and it's not exactly like the easiest to remove either.
Sure.
Yeah, that's just like it really screams like a tempo-ish deck for me. It's like, well, it is a card you have to answer. Like, do you play on 3? Like, all right, good luck.
Yeah, I feel like too. Yeah, you're gonna have situations where, if you like Mana Worm, Arcanologist, Stargazer Luna, it's gonna be like, well, God, I got to answer a lot of stuff now.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Mana Worm, I got to answer. Stargazer Luna, I got to answer. Like, when you start like posing multiple problems to the opponent, that's a pretty good spot to be in. So,
yeah,
she seems real good.
Yeah. The other another card that was shown that wasn't part of the Mech roundup that came out today is a new Shaman minion called Menacing Nimbus. It's a 2-mana 2/2 elemental, and it has a battle cry that reads: "Add a random elemental to your hand." This one's pretty straightforward.
Yep. It's a common as well, so this will be real good in Arena. As far as like right now, Shaman isn't playing an elemental deck, but we don't know what the rest of the set looks like in a tempo style Shaman that just gets more resources. I don't know. I mean, I just like drawing cards, so yeah, put more cards in my hand. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, think it's just solid, right?
Yeah, it's a decent minion. I just don't see it having a home just yet, unless like it's something you would want to play in even Shaman. But like the Shaman archetypes you have are like even Shaman and Shudderwalk, and doesn't seem to fit like that much into either of those. But it could be played in even. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like that impactful. Where like that deck just plays like almost strictly for tempo, and this doesn't feel like a tempo card. But if there's something where like Elemental Shaman becomes a thing, or just like some new archetype they would play with this. I could definitely see it. It's definitely just like a good like value card.
Yeah. It's. I have it filed under wait and see.
I see chat telling me commons don't matter in Arena anymore, but actually, chat, commons are still the most common card that you see in Arena. Even though there are buckets now, yes, there are still more commons than rares, than epics, than legendaries.
Fair.
They just are. They just are.
Let's talk about we're going to move into the mech minions, but I also want to just talk about Magnetic overall, because if they referenced how Magnetic worked in the original announcement video, I did not realize it. Apparently Magnetic is dependent on where you place the Magnetic minion on the board. Yeah, placement's
you
really
have to put it on the right for it to actually go off, and if you put it on the left, it doesn't, apparently.
No, I think you have it backwards. So if you want
if
you want to fuse two minions together, so if say you have a mech in play, you have a magnetic minion in your hand, you want to fuse that magnetic minion to the mech already in play, you have to place it to the left of the in-play mech minion. If you want to play it just as the minion as it is with its own stats and effects and not fuse it, you can play it to the right of a mech minion currently in play. So
there you go.
At first I was like, this seems a little convoluted, and then I realized that pass cards that have like quote-unquote required effects, like I'd almost assumed if you had a magnetic minion in hand and you had a mech in play, it would force you with like the red targeting UI to fuse it. But because of this placement rule, it gives you the option. It gives you the flex to just load the board up with more bodies if you want.
Which I think is really important for this mechanic to be at all viable, right? So I'm glad that that's in there, because like I look at a card like this. First of all, I don't think this card is very good. 7 mana for 3/8 worth of stats. I don't think is gonna see a lot of play. It's just when you're talking 7 mana cards, you usually want to be doing more than just putting 3/8 worth of stats into play. But that being said, like magnetic as just a mechanic, I think you can't be like, these cards cannot just be buffs, right? They have to also be minions and the ability to play them as minions. In certain matchups, you're going to be like, I just want to go wide, right? And in certain matchups, you're like, I want to go tall here, and I want to make one giant minion that they can't kill. So I'm really glad that it works that way. That being said, this particular card is garbage.
Yeah, that had to be like somewhere you would want to put it. I mean, I can't think of any like mechs off the back, like off the top of my head, but like, you would have to want something to have like the fairy dragon effect plus like the big, the big health stat. So I mean, I don't know like initially where to go, but like I would think some sort of like taunt minion is something you would want to buff. I don't think you'd ever want to play it by itself, right? It's just like a 3/8 that doesn't really do anything. If I had taunt, maybe, but yeah, I don't really know where it would go. It's interesting to know like, how that
if
works.
Ragnaros was a mech, maybe like if there's like a card that you want to just keep in play, right, and it keeps having an end of turn effect or something like that, yeah, I can see that. But yeah, like you said, like a taunt minion, sure, taunt divine shield.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go. Hachikumbo in chat saying Anoyotron. Yeah, okay. But then you
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you're getting a 9 mana 4/10. Would you play a 9 mana 4/10 taunt?
Untargetable.
Fairy Dragon. I don't know. I don't know if I would.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. Like
I didn't play Sogoth, that's for sure. So
yeah, that's true.
For our audio listeners, in case you're wondering what we're talking about Beryllium Nullifier, the new warrior mech that was shown. It's a 7 mana 3/8 that has magnetic and the fairy dragon effect of not being able to be targeted by spells and hero powers. Yeah, like unless there's some really weird specific combo that I'm not seeing. Like the thing that's cool about magnetic is it's basically a flexible buff, because if there's not a minion on board, you can just play this for its stats as opposed to connecting it. But if there is a minion on board, it's rad because you get to utilize that. If that minion is ready to attack, cool. Like in the case if we're talking about Beryllium Nullifier, you get that 3 attack, you get that 8 extra health to make trades, and I don't know what you're dying to if you're adding 8 health onto something and do a trade. But the thing is that like the can't be targeted, that's not really doing much for you the turn you play it. It's not affecting the board in any way until you end turn and swap it over to your opponent's side, which is still good, and there's some value there, right? Because this is going to survive. Your opponent's going to have to deal with it, and this makes it more difficult. And there is something to be said about the flex, but yeah, I'm with you. This is not it's not blowing my socks off.
Yeah, you play this and then you Void Ripper, and then you just smash their face.
Yeah, there you go, dude.
Yeah. There's some stuff to be talked about with Void Ripper, and combo priest decks too. Obviously not for Nullifier, but for the next mech, the upgradable Framebot. This was just shown today. It's a 2 mana 1/5 common neutral mech minion with no card text. As it should.
1/5.
If you're getting 5 health for 2 mana, it shouldn't have card text.
Yeah, actually, did we get word on the chat's making an interesting point and question here? How does silence work with magnetic? Does it remove the stats buff, or are they fused together and then that is their base stats at that point?
I would assume. The way I just assumed it worked, this has never even come into my mind as a question, but I just assumed if you actually fuse them and take advantage of magnetic, then it's just a buff at that point.
Okay.
It's not like,
because if it's like a Zombeast, you can't silence the full stats, right? And so it might work like Zombeast, where it's actually just smashed together and then they're both white stats. I can see it working that way. I just don't know.
Yeah,
because it makes more sense that way too.
Yeah, I would think that makes more sense, but I hope it works that way, because that like suddenly Spellbreaker is just dominating the meta, right? If these are just buffs.
It just feels like it's something that's not very fun to play with. If like silence is actually a thing that works on it.
I'm gonna play 7 mana for 3/8 with the stats, and then you're just gonna silence it away. Like, please don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because in the I'm scrubbing through the video right now because chat's saying they shows in the video right here it shows as green numbers for the stats, which is the telltale sign of a buff.
Yeah, I don't like that. So that makes magnetic much worse.
We're gonna see a Spellbreaker nerf pretty soon.
Yeah, Spellbreaker is already super. Like I was playing that Cube Zulok. I took out Cairn and I put in a Spellbreaker, and I was like, sweet, this is way better now. Because there's so many things you want to silence. So it's gonna get even worse.
And again, that's the same concern with any buff currently in the game. And again, this is a buff that is flex. It's on a stick, so I wouldn't discount it too heavily because of the existence of silence. I mean, we have
Sure,
this discussion
but
all
I mean,
the time.
it does
Yeah,
make it worse
okay.
than it would be the other way.
Well,
Like,
yes. I mean, if we were assuming
worse
that,
mechanic,
but
yeah.
it's funny that even crossed your mind, because I was sitting here just being like, yeah, it's a buff. It's gonna suck if you get silenced. That's just the way my head kind of took it. But yeah, I guess we don't know for sure. But it's got green attack, green health when that magnetic effect goes off in today's video.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing, you'll just see the original art of the first mech that's on the board that it got fused to, and then it will say below beryllium nullified, I guess, or something like that. Like,
I guess it maybe makes sense that like they would be able to be silenced, because it's still like the stats plus like charge, and then whatever the effect is. So like I guess it would still be like okay if it's silenceable. It would just like less fun that way.
Yeah.
But and anyway, back to upgradable framebot. So 2 mana for a 1/5 mech. This is neutral too, so any class can play around with this. This card's just nasty, right? Like, this is a terrifying card to be looking at. Like, I don't know.
It's a ton of stats.
Yeah, like this is gonna be like, is this just like high five Dire Mole and laugh at the opener that you just had?
Oh my god, dude.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like this is just setting the framework for this magnetic thing. Like, you need cards like this to exist, right? And I'd prefer this over a shielded minibot.
Yeah.
You know, a 1/5 is to me fairer than a 2/2 with Divine Shield. That just gets to attack multiple times and not die. So, yeah, I think this is. I don't know. I'm not too concerned about this card. This card's fine.
Yeah, I think it's just like a decent 2-drop, but it's not like overly like powerful or anything like that. It's not gonna break the game. I didn't feel like it just feels like a fine 2-drop that you play. Like maybe like helps the magnetic archetype if that's like a thing, or just like the keyword in general. Like I think it's just a minion that we probably need to have for magnetic to maybe see the light of day in tournament play and like ladder and that kind of stuff.
It doesn't feel to me like this is gonna make a lot of pro tournament deck lists, because I don't know, cards that do stuff are usually like what you want. You don't really just want to be slamming stats onto the board. You want to be doing things with them.
Yeah, but
exactly.
I think ladder and the prominence of stuff like even shaman right now begs to differ. I mean, I don't. Yeah, tournament probably not, but I think this type of zoo and even shaman and these just curving minion based decks. That's why I look at this and I'm like, yeah, okay, here's the spine on which this archetype will be built.
I guess it's sure.
I mean, so Chad's saying dire mole, but one drop is way different than a 2-drop. Like, being able to just put something on the board on 1 to then support whatever you do on 2. 2 is the amount of mana it costs to do a hero power, right? 2 is the amount of mana. Like, it's I don't know, that to me a 2-drop is much different. It needs to be a little more proactive. So I'm just I feel like this is just part of a mech package, not on its own anything that's significant.
I guess I could see it in Shaman with things like Fling-Tum Totem, like Earthen Might, that kind of stuff. So once you get buffs on it, like it's pretty
even
huge.
Shaman makes sense to me, right? You want 2-drops to do stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of what I find interesting about this card, is that I can see applications that are not strictly mech based in Combo Priest and in even Shaman, and then on top of it, I think it's pretty obvious how this plays into mech based decks. So this is the one I'm keeping my eye on. I'm like, it's 2 mana 1/5. It's kind of boring, but I'm like, oh, I think there's something here. I think there's something to be feared from the frame bot.
Yeah, definitely.
And also, we don't know if there's any cards out there that are going to be like Earthen Might style, where it's like, if you put this on a mech, you get a bonus effect, right? Where if that exists, then this definitely is a card, because if you can get this is a card that will probably stick for a turn, right? So if you need to have a mech on board to then activate some other ability, this definitely makes sense.
Oh yeah, you play this on curve. It's very hard to actually deal with.
It will be there on turn 3.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in that way, it reminds me of Shielded Minibot. I'm like, yep, I'll see you next turn. But
It can even be good. Priest makes a lot of sense too, because you can curve it straight into like the elixirs, that kind of thing too.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
There you go.
yeah.
Elixirs.
Wow.
Yep.
yeah, so that's what I find interesting about this card is its application outside of mech decks. Now, next up is War Gear. It's a 5-mana, 5/5 common neutral mech minion that has magnetic. So this is like the most basic magnetic minion we have looked at because he has no other card effect other than the fact that if you utilize magnetic, now you're adding 5/5 to another mech that's already in play.
So Blessing of Kings is a card that's decent, right? It doesn't see a lot of play, but I mean, it's always been kind of in and out. It's always there. It's a thing. You always think about it. You're like, no, I could Kings this, you know. To me, War Gear is like, yeah, it could always be a thing. If this mech type magnetic deck is out there, you know, you're gonna have to be like, okay, well, that minion could soon be +5/+5, and that's scary. So I think War Gear is definitely a wait and see type of card, but could be good.
Yeah, it just has a ton of stats, right? Like you said, like Blessing King's already like a good card that we see. If we have like War Gear and I don't know, just like some mechs on board, it immediately becomes like just a +5 buff, like 5 charge pretty much. And the fact that you get to play it like either way, where like if you want it as a 5/5, you just play a 5/5. You want to get 5 in, do some damage, like you can do that too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, 5/5 with charge that's real good, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah. Poker Joker in chat saying Blessing of Kings can be attached to anything though. But yeah, if you're playing War Gear, you're playing mechs, right? So, and also this is neutral, so you can play it in any class. So that's a big deal too.
Yeah, I'd say it's about equal because you're playing Blessing of Kings. You don't have a minion on the board; it's a dead card. War Gear you can deploy by itself.
That's true.
If you're just really hard up for board presence.
But you are a paladin if you're playing Blessing of Kings, so you can always hero power.
Right, but that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as saying if you're playing War Gear, you're playing mechs. So I think there's a specific application here. Like War Gear has potential, but I'm not.
Oh yeah.
I'm not jumping to any big conclusions on this card. I mean,
it's kind of hard to.
Yeah, this set as a whole, I think the mech thing when they mentioned it last week, I mean, Jocelyn and I were here on the show going, okay, well, we just need to see more mechs because we don't know.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
I need to see the entire set before I can really say how good or bad this whole mechanic is. Right? Yeah. I mean, it seems like it's got a ton of potential, but man, I thought Inspire had potential.
Yeah, well, you know.
Yeah,
we've all been wrong before.
The fact that we get to play like the magnetic minions just like on their own, I mean, it's pretty good. So we'll see. Like we do need to see more mechs, but that's like pretty much like a good upside. I don't think it's something where like I feel like Inspire would kind of like you can kind of see that it was not the greatest because like you have to spend the extra 2 mana to get the effect. But like
sure,
this one's just like it could be a minion, it could be like a buff. It definitely has like a lot of potential for sure.
Yeah, flexibility is pretty sweet in Hearthstone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I used Earthen Might on an elemental in even Shaman because it's just like, yeah, it needs to happen now.
yeah. There's like so many times where I like baited myself into like trying to get the value off of, like Fire Plume or something like that. Where like if I just put it on a different minion, it would have been so much better.
Yeah, exactly. That realization is what makes me respect cards like War Gear at least. You know, I don't know if it's gonna be playable, but knowing that I found myself in those situations so many times, I'm sitting here going, yeah, maybe there's a home for War Gear. Final card we're going to talk about today is Ziliax, 5-mana 3/2 legendary neutral mech minion. Ziliax has magnetic. Ziliax also has Divine Shield, Taunt, Lifesteal, and Rush.
Damn, son.
Yeah,
that's a lot of words.
Yeah,
that's a lot of effects.
It seems like this could be super sweet. Just the fact that you're going to be able to put this on something, gain some health, kill something, leave something on the board, and put a taunt in the way. I mean, 3/2 for 5 that sucks, but when you start to add in all the other things, this is a super wait and see card. Like the Also, the fact
Absolutely.
that it's a legendary means I can only play one of these. Like, I'm not building a deck around this type of mechanic, but I could definitely see applications for this.
I think it has to get like magneted. Like it has to be like combined with something. I don't know.
Yeah,
like on its
yeah,
own,
yeah.
it just feels so bad to play.
It's bad. It's super bad by itself. It needs to go on something else for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rush means you can get some value out of it, and it has divine shield, so it'll stick around if you have to combine it with something for a trade. Because if you're paying 5 mana for a 3-attack trade, I think you need some help getting rid of whatever you're worried about. But it's still worth mentioning. Like there's I'm dropping Greymane in my even shaman, right? Like he's not doing anything, and he still gets dropped sometimes. So there's always something to be said for the flexibility. But the thought of this as magnetic is very interesting and makes me think that it being legendary is a limiting factor. Because if I could put 2 of these in my deck and Mech ends up being playable, I think this card could be nuts if you had 2 of them in your deck.
Sure, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like
absolutely.
if you can kill something, like if you put this on a minion that's already on the board, you kill something on their side, you gain health, that minion lives because of divine shield. You know, it's like you put all those factors together. It's like that's a big swing, you know, and you pay 5 mana for it, but it's still just like a pretty significant tempo swing. Like you think about cards where like flanking strike or something, where it's like I kill your thing and I put something in play. It's like Ziliax can kind of work in that way, where it's like I kill your thing and I still got a thing. Now you go. Now you got to answer this thing because it's also now got lifesteal and taunt. Like that to me, there's potential, but 5 mana is a lot to pay for 3/2 worth of stats.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I guess the flexibility is good, where like you could just play it, take a trade, and like push the rest. It's definitely like very, very niche will that happen, but I don't know. It's the stats kind of scare me, and it being playable.
Yeah.
I really hope it would be, but I guess again, like we just have to wait and see.
Yep.
So Infrarogue makes the point that this is a card for Corpse Taker. You buff Corpse Taker automatically with it, right? Because it's got all that stuff. And you can draw it with Countess Ashmore. It's got all that stuff.
Oh, you're right.
There's stuff. There's stuff here.
Wait, you said Corpse Taker is like Corpse Taker is not a mech. What are you talking about?
No. But
if
if this is in your deck, Corpse Taker will then have Divine Shield and Lifesteal.
Yeah,
and taunt.
exactly.
Oh, gotcha.
Because it's got all those words on it.
Yeah, it just gives Corpse Taker all of it.
It buffs Corpse Taker as a card before you don't put it on Corpse Taker. It's just it's like putting a friggin' 8 mana bro in your shaman deck, right?
Yeah.
And buffs Corpse Taker.
Well, it doesn't get rush, and it won't proc the Wind Fury on the Corpse Taker, but
It won't, but it'll give it Divine Shield and
lifesteal.
Yeah.
and taunt.
Make sure that at least has those.
Yeah. That's cool. I hadn't really considered that. I read that too, the same way you did, Ant. I'm like, what are you talking about? Put this on Corpse Taker. I'm gonna put this on
No,
Corpse
not
Taker.
put it on Corpse Taker. Yeah. Put it in your deck and then play Corpse Taker on.
I was like holding back, trying not to like cut you off. Be like, that's crazy. You can't do that. Like, oh, that's great. Well, those are all the new cards that have come out since the last episode of the Angry Chicken. Most of them were revealed today, as a matter of fact. I have a sinking feeling, Dills, that you and Jocelyn are gonna have a lot of cards to talk about next week.
Yeah, probably.
I'm gonna miss.
We only had the one for a while, and then they suddenly just dumped a bunch more. So
Yep.
that's fine, though. I love talking new cards.
Well, before we move into news, I want to thank, we want to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/TAC. It's the best way to support the Angry Chicken. If you like what we're doing here, I want to thank one of our newer patrons. Thank you to John M. for the support. Thank you, John. Very much appreciated. And if you enjoy the Angry Chicken, you want to get early access to things like our Angriest Chicken Open tournaments, sign up for that. There's one of those coming very, very soon. We're announcing that next week, Dills.
No, we can just say it now.
Okay, let's just do it.
Might as well. Yeah. It'll be on the 28th of this month. The taco for Witchwood. The I don't know what I'm going to call it. The Witchy Taco? I don't know. On the 28th, July 28th, it's a Saturday. And we should have signups going out pretty soon. So if you're a patron, you will get those this week. And starting probably next week, it'll be opened up to everybody.
Yep. So check it out, patreon.com/TAC. Now, let's get into Hearthstone news that isn't new cards.
Good news, everyone!
Dude, it's an hour into the show and we just heard the news bumper.
Yeah, well, I mean, we used to do card talk after news. We've switched it up because Ant's here. We're going to talk about the really exciting stuff first. I don't think we're making it to emails to this week, everybody, just so you know. The Boomsday Project is getting pre-release parties, which meant I had to go read a post because it's not a thing that has happened in Hearthstone before. But this sounds super rad. So these are essentially fireside gatherings, and there's a whole list of them up on the official Hearthstone website right now if you want to see if there's one near you happening. But what's going to be going on is if you attend one of these pre-release parties on either August 4th or August 5th, you're going to be able to open your Boomsday card packs early and then play with the new cards that you open in 2 unique, basically fireside brawls, I'm assuming, because it sounds like you're only going to be able to play these brawls if you are at one of these events in person. And I just think this is very cool. Reminds me of Magic. One of the things I love in that game is pre-releases and going to a pre-release sealed event. Oh, you're tugging at my heartstrings, Hearthstone. Now just tell me that there's a sealed drafting event for Boomsday, and I'm just going to throw so much money your way it's going to hurt. Yeah. So if you go to the link, the first concern I mentioned on Twitter that this looks pretty cool, and I was immediately hit with a bunch of replies saying, "Oh man, there's not a lot of locations," and I can't say anything officially. I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but I've heard from some folks that there should be more locations popping up on there pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough there's one here in Austin, but dude, North America, 7 of them? Really?
Yeah. No, there's going to be
That's not that many, man.
There's almost 3 weeks to go still. There's going to be more locations announced.
Sure. So how close is Santa Ana to you, Ant?
It's a couple hours
Fresno?
away.
Yeah. Okay, that's close enough. Yeah.
I'm probably making it down though. I think it'd be cool if they give us something like how Magic has promo cards or whatever, in their pre-releases. If we had something along those lines.
I guess you show up, you get a golden something. Yeah.
Oh, dude, that'd be so cool.
Yeah.
I wish they did alternate art stuff, but that's probably just a whole other thing to go down.
Yeah, we just talked about that last week because it was in the forum chats that they've been doing. They mentioned the alternate art and why they're not going to do it, and I was just like,
oh really?
It's silly. Just do it. Who cares? We're not that dumb. We can figure it out.
Don't they like money? Come on, man.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about promo cards since the very, very early days of this show because Dills, you and I were playing Magic when we first started the Anger Chicken, and we were like, oh man, wouldn't it be cool? Even if there's not alternate art, if there's just they do some weird version of the stamped date, you get a lot of promo cards in Magic.
Yeah.
That would be so cool.
Go for that.
Yeah, I'd really like to see something like that. But whatever the case, I mean, this is where my brain always goes to. Naturally, I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if they did all these other extra stuff? What they are doing is cool here. This is a neat event.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I'm down, and I'm definitely going to be at this Vigilante Gaming Bar one. By the way, Vigilante in Austin is a super cool place to do tavern or fireside gatherings every single Sunday. Anyway, so yeah, this will just be a super fun extra one.
Yeah. But seriously, keep refreshing this. If there's one not near you, and there's a good chance there isn't, because there's not that many North American dates announced at the moment. But keep checking back. I am sure that there are going to be more locations being announced soon. As for the 2 fireside brawls that you'll be able to play, they're calling one the basic Boomsday Brawl, and it's a deck building brawl that's going to allow you to use the cards that you opened during the pre-release party. And then they're going to have another one that they're calling Scientific Recipe, which utilizes pre-constructed decks via the new deck recipes. It sounds like that'll be coming in with Boomsday. So this is very neat. I mean, we have been saying since GVG that the GVG Arena event was the coolest pre-expansion thing they've ever done in this game, and please keep doing that. Why did you only do it once and not do it again? And while this is not the same, this is still very cool. The idea of getting to open my packs early and play around with the cards before the expansion actually comes out, like that's what I want from a card game. I want that kind of that social experience of, all right, this is the first time any of us get to mess with this stuff. Let's do it. Let's figure it out together.
I remember playing like Doctor Boom back in that, and I was like reluctant to take it. I was like, oh, I guess I'll take this Doctor Boom. Like, it doesn't seem that great, but I'm gonna put it in my deck, and I just played it. I think I went like 12-0 or something like that, like 12 wins, and it's like, oh, I guess this card won me like most of my games. I guess it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I love that. I guess I'll take Dr. Boom. That's great. As for what's going on in the game right now, the Midsummer Fire Festival is back. If you missed it last year or somehow you haven't logged in yet, I find that hard to believe you're listening to a Hearthstone podcast that even logged in yet today. But the Midsummer Fire Festival is here. Go complete your quests. Go get your double gold. Save up because Boomsday is just a few weeks away. This also ends...
Yeah, this is actually really cool timing that they're giving us this, because it's a whole 2 weeks basically to get set up and earn a little extra gold. Mm-hmm. I mean, one thing that kind of sucks for me is this means all my accounts, I gotta start logging in every single day.
Oh, you poor baby.
Try to get my quest done. But, whatever. It's good. Overall,
it's so bad that they're giving us more in-game currency.
I know. Yeah, but see, like when they did the Taverns of Time thing, I was like, I felt there were certain days where I was like, oh crap, I forgot to log in on EU, and need that dust.
Oh my god, dude.
So Ant, I mean, as a professional Hearthstone player, I'm sure you just buy the full set, or at least the cards you need that are playable. But do you still get stoked for stuff like in-game events that give you double gold and whatnot?
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I like how they changed the actual game. Like they have the little flares, little fire going around. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't really do my daily quests or anything like that though. I think it's just a cool idea.
Yeah, it's better than putting out a heroic tavern brawl right before an expansion comes out.
Oh my god!
Where they just
I hated that because
yeah,
exactly. It would just take all my gold. I would never do well either, because I'll just do it once and then I get 5 wins or something like that. I'm like, yeah, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah, no, it's the worst for streamers, because then you're streaming and people are like, "Hey man, play heroic tavern brawl," and you're like,
I don't want to.
Yeah, I kind of want my 1,000 gold though.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. I'm
and my $10. I want to keep those.
I don't really want to.
That's when, it's a little bit of stream peer pressure there, but I mean, yeah, you're not kidding. This is the opposite of doing a heroic tavern brawl, because we just had the Taverns of Time. We were just getting a bunch of dust.
I know. I feel like I'm gonna have so much freaking gold this time around, because they're just all these events coming up. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I think I still have over 6,000 dust chilling on my account after opening Witchwood packs. This has never happened to me before.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I did, and then I made my all gold Test Greymane Wild and Burgley deck.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Can't
so
help you
I'm out.
there.
I'm tapped out.
That's a dust sink right there.
But I got that sweet gold coin and all your gold cards. It's awesome.
That's all that matters.
Yep. Another fun fact: I just cleared out my final Witchwood adventure, Monster Hunt quest.
Oh really?
And this is coming up. I had the Time Tinkerer one, because I'm sorry, I can't stand playing that hero. It's so unfun to me. So I was just sitting there, and then I heard this was coming. I'm like, all right, time to make room for daily quests, because I'm going to be traveling soon. They're going to get stocked up. So that thing has just been sitting there.
I still got mine sitting there.
The key to having fun with Time Tinkerer is choose chaos every single time, and it's just an RNG fest.
Yeah, well, great. When you're in the mindset that you need to make room for the Fire Festival, playing the hero that basically takes 2 turns for every 1 turn in Hearthstone just seems like a
I know,
chore.
that is super annoying. Plus, you get to the final boss on that one, and then the final boss literally restarts the entire game. You play the whole game, you almost kill the boss, and they're like, nope, never mind, start the whole game over again.
Oh, I didn't know that. I haven't made it that far.
It's called Infinite Toki or whatever is the final boss you play. I mean, they literally have a card that restarts the entire game. It sucks.
Removing myself from playing it, that's really cool. I think it's a very cool concept.
Sure.
Overall, but.
So if you didn't see the Omnistone episode where they did the Monster Hunt together, where they were literally stuck in a loop because they were playing a card that would play all of the spells out of both players' hands. And one of the spells in the opponent's hand was the spell that restarted the game. And when they restarted the game then went in the exact same order again because you needed to have Toki naturally play it. It was stupid. It was just they played the same game like 9 or 10 times in a row.
Oh, I love that kind of stuff.
Oh my god, dude.
I love that breaking the game stuff. And then Hearthstone adjacent, Ben Brode is going to be popping up at PAX Dev. He'll be delivering a keynote at PAX Dev. He also just recently announced the name of his new studio. It's called Second Dinner, and that's all we know. It's
okay. Second dinner. All right. I mean, I like second dinner. I like second breakfast, second lunch. I like all that stuff. So yeah.
Second anything.
Sounds great.
It's a really hungry hobbit. That's the hungriest of hobbits. But so it'll be going down on August 28th and 29th. I wouldn't be surprised if this was an overall talk about being a developer and creating a game, and we don't get any news about his company or what they're building. So don't get too excited. But when he's given talks in the past, they are wildly fascinating. So I'm going to be hopefully it'll be broadcasted somewhere, and I'll get to see it. But we're all a little strapped for time today, so we are going to push emails. But that doesn't mean don't keep sending them. Send your emails into tacpodcast@gmail.com. Keep them coming. Dills and Jocelyn will be back next week, even though I'll be gone. You're not going to be missing a week of Angry Chicken. Don't worry, which is good, because otherwise we would get buried in cards that we would need to talk about.
Oh, God. Yeah, we cannot miss next week.
Yeah. But around the table, Ant, you are our guest. Thanks again for joining us. Where can everybody find you streaming? Maybe follow you on Twitter?
Ant_HS on both. So Twitter _NHS or Ant_HS, and then twitch.tv Ant_HS. And I've been happy to be on.
Yeah.
You got any tournaments coming up? Are you prepping for anything right now?
No, Oakland was the last one for the season. Okay. Just focusing on ladder, trying to get my my points so I could qualify for playoffs. Sure. Exactly.
Well, Red, man, I've thoroughly enjoyed having you on. So consider it an open invitation. If you're ever listening, you're like, oh, they're so wrong on this. I got to tell them. Come back on. Let us know. Well,
I will. Don't you worry.
Dills, what about you, man? Where can everybody find all the rad content you're putting out?
Check out Twitter. I'm at Willie Dills, twitch.tv/Willie Dills. I'm going to be in Burnett, Texas for the next week, so you're not going to see any streams until probably Saturday. But I'm going to try to do an IRL stream because we are going to be, it's like a whole family thing. We're going to be on a lake. If I can get myself a selfie stick or something, maybe I can do a jet skiing stream or something. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be fun.
Nice. Well, I'm Garrett Art on Twitter, 2 R's and 2 T's. And Garrett, everybody, while I'm mentioning that, I have a solo podcast. Well, sometimes solo. I've had actually a lot of guests recently called R2T2, referencing the 2 R's and 2 T's in my name. It's a stupid name because it requires too much explaining. But if you want to check out the solo podcast that I do, I've recently had my wife on there to talk about World of Warcraft. There's a lot of Warcraft talk happening on it right now because new expansion's right around the corner. Also, my first main was
today.
What was it? No, the pre-patch is today.
Pre-patches today.
Yeah, okay. Pre-patches today. So my first main was a Night Elf, so they're burning my starting zone. I'm feeling a little nostalgic. So if you want to hear a bunch of Warcraft talk, go check out R2-T2 solo podcast with me. And not so solo recently because I have a bunch of guests talking World of Warcraft. So go check that out. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of The Angry Chicken. We'd like to thank Ant again for joining us. Thank you all for listening. And until next time, job's done.
Job's done.
Job's done.
Yes! Ant was right on that one. Nice, dude.
Well done. Dude,
I feel like my dog knows the job's done sign off now, and he gets real excited when it happens because he knows that means he's about to go outside.
I mean, you've had Iggy a long time. I would assume he now knows what this means. When you cheer yes, he gets to go take a tinkle.
Exactly. It's time to go outside. Yep. You ready, buddy?
Oh, background.
Oh, yeah. All right. I'm going to do this, take this guy out. Ant, dude, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. It was really nice talking to you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thanks,
all right, guys.
Thanks again, man. You're very good on radio.
Thank you.
All right, stream. I'm going to take this down. Thank you again for tuning in. You've all been great.